Hello, happy Mojo Day to you. I am off in my world and it's already just a beautiful day out here. Another amazing just day to be alive and experience, and I have a pretty incredible day ahead already. I wanted to take some time today before I got started with the day to just talk about these amazing synchronicities that have happened with my journey and this idea that's been just evolving over the years. I originally, had this just desire, I guess is a good word, and idea to write this book about about a biography, a pseudo biography, and then because most of the world wouldn't see how I wrote it as kind of fantasy. However, to me, it would really just be true, and I was writing it from the back, when I started it, from kind of the end or middle, and then talking about, how I grew up, and then, into the theme of the story. And the theme of the story is helping children remember who they are, and to hold on to their light and their being and their magic, their ability to create miracles and share light. And I wanted to, and I think what stalled me at different times was knowing I would have to share about what it was like to grow up that way in a world that isn't. And ironically, is amazing, is what just kind of flowed me into having to take the jump, the leap this time, because I could no longer pretend. I could no longer just mask that what my beliefs are and what my inner being is calling and singing for my life that I'm choosing to try to, superimpose is no longer able. It no longer works. My inner self just will no longer have it. And it's pretty incredible. I believe life is that way when you just get to that place, the jumping off place, and you have to take the leap. You'll no longer dishonor yourself. You'll no longer come from a place of non-loving with yourself, that you won't force yourself into being in those spaces any longer. And that's where I came to. And so the delay of putting off writing that story is pretty miraculous, because it allowed me to have this very drastic and, amazing experience of going for it and trusting. And so literally this experience of, the last few months of being in my profession that I was in, it was literally excruciating. Like I felt like going inside out, trying to make myself do things that I had already been doing for such a long time. I felt so foreign to me. And it reminded me of just how growing up in my life, how it reminded me of that learning to kind of just mask things and mask my abilities and dim things down so that I wasn't different than everybody else, or causing ripples and waves and things like that. And you get to this place where you're no longer afraid of that. Like, I'm no longer afraid in my life of causing ripples or affecting. I shouldn't say completely unafraid, but I am willing to face that fear today. I'm willing to do it anyways. I'm willing to go because my inner self knows. My inner self knows what we are is complete potential and love and light and no limits. And it won't be held down anymore. And amazingly, last night I was reading this story that my friend Sheena had sent me, and this incredible story that I've spoken about before, Anita Mojani, Dying to Be Me. I had put off reading this story, and it was perfect because it wasn't the time, because I needed to experience it myself in full blownness. And this has been evolving over, that original idea of writing that story for the children came almost a decade ago. So this has been a decade of knowing these types of things and still walking, this path and getting here. And even just growing up knowing, but it's an amazing experience when you find it in yourself. I'm grateful I didn't have a teacher per se at an early age that said this is who you are, because I had to find it, and it was my journey to find it. And now that I'm reading this story, reading what she's saying is like reading my story. It's like reading my thoughts, my beliefs, who I am, and the journey of just taking the leap and going for it. And it's like such a gift from God saying you are just where you're supposed to be. And I love that she talks about that everything flows the way that it's meant to. You have the experience that you're meant to affect change and share. That's why I don't regret my life or any of the experiences or any of the path getting me here, because I know that it's affected and touched life the way that it was meant to. And to be able to share it in this way. And to know that it is time to create those stories, and to get those books, do this, and just a creation of this is incredible. And that's my belief, that it's the creating, that we are like the universe and we're creating, and that creation, that desire to be, to explore, to expand, to be free, that's what the universe is. That's what our light is. We can never truly cage and mask that, and it will find a way to break free. Our inner beings and our spirits will find a way. As much as our mind or society tries to lock those in, it will come. You cannot tie down a supernova. You can't put it in a glass jar. So, incredibly, there were so many more synchronicities as I was reading her story that reminded me of the synchronicities of how I even got her story and how Wayne Dyer was tied into her story. And I'm going to do another episode on that after I do some qigong and a beach walk in a moment, because it's just amazing. And it was amazing reading that. I felt like in the movie, felt Sebastian in the movie Neverending Story, because he's reading the book that's creating his story as he's reading the story. And that's how I felt reading that story last night. It was just miraculously awesome, and it just tickled my being of knowing this is amazing, and this is how we really are. This is how synchronistic life really is, and we can embrace that. We get to embrace that experience. Follow your inner calling, follow your passions, follow your joy, follow your light. And when you feel things repel you or hurt your spirit, your being's talking to you. Your spirit is having a conversation with you, trying to reach you and communicate with you and relate to you. And may we learn to listen and relate with ourselves so that we can relate to life in such a harmonious way of being. I love you. I'm so grateful for this journey. Thank you for sharing this with me. To be continued. Shine bright. Namaste.